All right, Pierre, let's go. Oh, no! We're all interested in. What the? We have lighting brightness, and it does work. Alibaba has released Qwen3.6 27B, which is the dense 27 billion parameter variant of the Qwen3.6 family. This comes after the initial release of the Qwen3.6 35B-A3B model, which was seriously impressive. So seeing a dense model of this size now is going to be really exciting in terms of how it stacks up, and this does have some pretty big shoes to fill just based off of how the 35B MOE performed. So we're going to take a quick look at some of the interesting things of note for this model, but for today's video, we're mostly going to be focused on doing some fun and light testing to see how it performs. So do feel free to subscribe so I can get that 100K plaque, and with that, we will begin by just taking a quick peek at some of the things of note for this model. Now, of course, there are benchmark JPEGs, which apparently are going to be downloaded when I open them in this specific system. I guess that's okay, because we can see them very well now. We can see that this model is really just stacking up very favorably against things that one wouldn't really expect it to, being that we have the inclusion of Claude 4.5 Opus, Qwen3.5 397B-A17B, as well as the Qwen3.6 35B MOE, which was very good. But basically from this chart, if we are to believe this, this is almost like the Opus at home kind of like meme model. And again, I like to test these models and pay less mind to these benchmarks unless they specifically show its increase against the previous iteration of itself, which fortunately we do have, as denoted by the new model, which is darker purple, and the old 27B 3.5 27B is light purple. We can see there are some pretty significant improvements, especially in agentic terminal coding, so we will pop this into OpenCode at some point and test it as well in that regard. For some specific information, the context length is 262,144 natively, and there is a specific blog post dedicated to this release for anyone interested in getting some more verbose information about it. But really, some interesting things about this model are that it is natively multimodal, so it can look at images and see them, and that is something we will test in today's video, as it is always fun to have models running locally that do have that capacity to respond to image input. Additionally to that, it just does seem like this has a really large increase in some of its agentic coding capabilities, which is quite exciting because this is something that is somewhat reasonable to be run at home on hobbyist/enthusiast grade hardware. So this is something that is kind of democratized in terms of the amount of folks who can access it, which is always nice to see with high capacity models. Now, in terms of how we're going to be running this today, the keen-eyed viewers amongst us may have noticed that I'm actually using a Mac right now, which is not very commonly seen, especially when running local AI. I did find this little guy pop up at Micro Center a few days ago. This is a M3 Ultra Mac Studio, and it has 256 gigs of memory. I had actually needed a new daily driver Mac, and I figured it was justifiable to purchase this because it will also allow me to run some local AI models at reasonable speed. I could of course run this model on the DGX Spark 2, but it would be quite a bit slower to the point where I would become frustrated and likely not produce the video. So for today, we're going to be using this through LM Studio. I do have the MLX Community Quant at an 8-bit quantization downloaded. Now, I don't have any experience using Apple MLX models or anything like that, but I figured doing it through LM Studio will give me some level of familiarity to likely hedge against perhaps any misconfigurations. Now, something to note that I noticed folks were questioning in my previous Qwen3.6 video, I am using the correct sampling parameters for precise coding tasks as seen right here. In addition to that, this does also have the thinking preservation capability, and I have ensured that in the chat template that is configured to be on. So when we do test this in LM Studio as well as OpenCode, all of these sampling parameters are going to be proper in terms of the coding task. So I want to just specifically mention that just to clarify. So of course, let's begin with the tried and true browser OS test. However, I am giving it the specific version of this where it has to include 2 functional 3D games, one of which must be a GTA clone. The rest of this is of course to just generate a browser OS with at least 5 applications, the ability to change wallpaper, and a special feature that it decides on and implements on its own. So we can see it has started out here with a thinking process as one would expect. Also, additional thing I neglected to mention, I do have the context length completely maxed out right now to 262.144, just in case anyone is curious about that. And we can see the speed here is not blazingly fast as it would be if I were running this on like a 5090 or something. However, the benefit of this system is basically it can fit much bigger models, and it runs at a reasonable speed, especially if I were running this at an 8-bit quant on the DGX Spark right now, it would be frustratingly slow. So this is nice to see as well, and we'll allow it to finish, then take a peek at the result. Also, one comment had mentioned that I mentioned my dogs, and I've not shown them, so here's one of them. This is Betty. The other one will be quite angry if I pick it up, so we have her for now. She's not a very good programmer. All right, so after about 63 years, we have our OS result. It was a total speed of 21 tokens per second. We can see it was a total of 26,400 tokens. I walked away from this when I saw that it was doing like trees, sidewalks for just within the GTA game, and it was like, okay, this is going to take quite a while. Regardless, let's take a peek at this. This should be exciting. This is going to be like 3,500 lines of code. Oh, 2032. Exactly what I guessed. All right, here is our Qwen3.6 browser OS, opened in Chrome. Nova OS, very good. Now, we do expect this to look very good off the bat because it's likely made its way into the training data, but more specifically, the 35B MOE was fantastic in its browser OS result. So let's initially check, is there a right click? Yes. Of course there is, and one would expect there to be. There is also the correct time and date in my locale in the bottom right here, which is good. Now, we do want to, good, that is the first app, because I always go through them top down, and I'm very, very, very excited to see the GTA clone. Let's just check our start menu. Okay, interesting. So I believe 35B MOE for Qwen3.6 actually had a search function here, which I don't see here, but that is okay. So regardless, the thing that, well, myself, we're all interested in. What the? That's just like, this is too new to be, because I didn't start adding this in until quite recently. This is incredibly good. To be honest with you, this is one of the better GTA clone results I've seen, agnostic of this even being run in the browser OS. All right, let's see what's up here. WASD is to move. It has walking effects. There's a cache power up. Can I punch people? I want to punch people, you know, from scientifically to be able to test this game. All right, it doesn't seem like we can. So where's that vehicle? There it is. Oh, it did put mesh colliders. That's good. Walk that way, you idiot. The building's not there. Why is the mesh collider? I apologize. Okay. F is to enter or exit a vehicle. The vehicle's even... All right, the walking here leaves something to be desired. Okay. How close? Okay, we need to be closer to this thing. There we go. I mean... Oh, okay, so space is to... Aw. I mean, oh, good, that's good. We don't want that. Still, though, I mean, is there mesh colliders when in the vehicle? Okay, yes, there is. Wow, reverse is rather slow. How do we get wanted stars? The whole video is just going to be this, so no. It doesn't seem like the wanted system is working 100%, but maybe if I steal another car. Let's see if that works. So F is to get out of the vehicle. Uh-oh. Okay, we've met a glitch where it doesn't seem like... The whole purpose of this is the browser OS. I apologize, but that was just incredibly good. Now, the prompt did tell it to make 2 3D games. Okay, and here's the second one. Interestingly, every single thing that I have run this specific prompt in where they need to make 2 3D games, it's only been a few specific models. They've all put like asteroid-style like flying things. This is very nice. This is very well done and does potentially bode well for the Flight Combat Simulator result if I do have an extra 10 or so years to film this video. I gotta stop. I'm in a mood. I woke up in a mood because I got this email and I was like, what? So, you know, all right. This is good. It seems like I've won. We can close that. Next up, let's check out our terminal. Everything here looks very good. I was like, what's TCH? And then I saw it was just wrapping around. It was NeoFetch. Let's see if it has like a pretty... WOS. WebOS looks good. 32 gigs of RAM, a 28-core CPU is pretty beastly. Also, all right, Fortune. Okay, I just do that till I hit a duplicate, and then, you know, we hit one rather quickly. Who am I? Make directory. Let's see if that works. All right, is there a file browser up in this thing? I don't see the subscribe directory here. Though this is a very good file browser, it does actually have like, you know, clickability. GTA save data, space save data, that's very realistic. It actually created fake save data for our games. That's cool. I like that. Sadly, our directory did not seem to be properly created. I mean, this won't work, but yeah, all right. Still, this is good. Can we minimize and reopen? Of course we can. Next up, paint. Oh. So this was supposed to be a racetrack, and that was a Formula One car for those who lack my vision. Pretty cool. We also have circles, rectangles, and lines. So this is beyond a paint app. It's almost like a design app. This is basically like a Photoshop replacement. Can we save it? Does it save it with a clear BG? No, it doesn't, but that's okay. All right, overall, this is quite good. So we did already look at files. Next up would be settings, and it did say it has 12 specific selectable gradient wallpapers in keeping with the theme of all things being gradients now instead of, ooh, ocean is very pretty. Ember, disgusting, as all orange tones are. We have ocean. I like that. I'm probably going to keep it. Anything else here? Nope. Then we have about, built with heart for the web. Not bad. Next up, we have our browser. Our functional browser, I should say. All right, what's up with this? Yeah, that's my website. And it works. It's more about this browser working. All right, this is just like, this is so good. And I'm talking about my specific website here. The browser OS is acceptable, but this is, of course, Ultimate Play, where you can upload, play, and upvote AI-generated games. You don't need an account to just play them or whatever. If you want to upload one, you do need an account because then there's like, you know, security stuff. And also I have an agent that just runs in like screenshots and handles all the uploads. So that's a cool use case. Finally, we have our calculator, 99 times 9. I don't know why I did that because 976. 100 times 9 minus 9. Oh, crap. Yeah, the calculator works. Okay, so the final thing was whatever this thing is, which is a stopwatch. I do believe this is the special feature. Travel back in time to restore your OS state. Move the slider to go back to a previous moment. Oh, and you have to... All right, so that works, and that's interesting. You'll notice we can actually start and stop recording. This is overall perhaps one of the best browser OS results that I've received, period. Even independent of this being a small local model. Look at the walking animations here and just like, let's jack this whip. Yeah, it seems like just the wanted effect didn't work, but everything else was cool. And then we can't really get back out of the car. It seems to not properly handle the game state change when we get out of the car. So still though, I mean, this in and of itself would have been a decent result if it wasn't contained within a browser OS. Very, 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 very good. Now, next up, because these do take a while to generate, I have initiated the beautifully detailed static subway scene result, which of course we will wait to see the initial result, and then before even looking at it, actually this takes so long, maybe we'll look at it first, and then we'll tell it to turn it into a cool subway FPS, and we'll get that result. This is so far seriously like, I'm going to have to throw some prompts at this that wouldn't have made their way into the training data. I just have to think what they would be. So at 21.5 tokens per second, pretty much the exact same speed as the previous run, we have received our static subway scene result. What the? No, this is just like... It's just not like possible. I guess this is... It's so insanely good considering, oh, we have adjustable tunnel depth. We have lighting, brightness, and it does work, and it works nicely. That's significantly better. We even have like conduit running on the ceiling. We have the subway car there. Now, I don't know if the tunnel depth is, did that change? I have no idea. I don't know how to judge that one, but this is just begging to be turned into an FPS. So I'm giving it the simple follow-up to just turn this into an FPS. Okay. Seems like we're getting a bit of lag. Oh. What the? I mean, so it freezes. even still, with this horrible frame rate, we can see the point is this is very, very, very good reloading. Okay, so it auto reloads for us. Now, something Opus 4.7 had that just made it like probably the best I've seen is the bullet effects actually showed in the environment. Okay, so that's not happening here, but still, I mean, we can jump. I mean, the weapon recoil, the flash looks really good. The ammunition tracers look good. Don't mistake my silence for a lack of being impressed here. It's simply just I'm taking this in because really, I think we're all going to probably agree that this is beyond what folks would have expected a local 27 billion parameter, even dense model would be able, oh great, to put out. So with that, I've prepared a special little test for this model to really see if it's actually properly capable or if it's just benchmaxing on the Bijan tests. So with that, let's hop to OpenCode and find out. So right here is a sprite sheet of 100 different images of 10 different cars. Each has 10 different images or something of the sort like that. This was generated with the GPT Image 2.0 model. It is pretty cool, but the whole purpose of this test is going to be to instruct this model to actually do something with this and turn it into a little racing game based off of this game asset sheet. Now, I don't know if this is going to work or not. I can tell you with definitively that GPT Pro mode is very capable of doing that task with this. However, again, this is basically comparing like a local model to a fully high-end state-of-the-art model. So I'm going to say use carsprites.png and make a racing game out of it or something. It should infer. And we'll see what it does. I don't know. I have no idea what to expect, but this is a test that has not made its way into any previous data. So we'll see how well it's able to slice and dice that image, use tools to do whatever it finds that it needs to do. Now we'll notice here that I've initially begun this in plan mode, and I noticed that the prompt processing speed when just using it through LM Studio Server here is kind of slow. I do have the context length set to max. All of the sampling parameters are set properly for precise coding, and the thinking thing where like it needs to retain thinking, it's enabled. So everything is enabled for this to get full performance. And we'll basically just let it sit for a while and see what it does. So after a bit of time, it found the file and it is utilizing its inbuilt vision capabilities to examine the sprite sheet to understand its layout. Various cars in different colors and orientations. Let me analyze what I can see. Multiple car designs. Each car appears to have multiple orientations. The cars look like pixel art style racing cars. There are also some smaller sprites that may be obstacles or items. Okay, I don't believe there are, but we'll see. So it's basically noticing that this is not, I suppose, a proper sprite sheet in terms of the layout, which it was generated by an image model, so it probably isn't. So it's trying to figure out exactly how to perform the sprite extraction here, and we can see its thought process on screen and what it's thinking about in terms of figuring this out. So it's decided it should write some code to detect the actual sprite boundaries by analyzing pixel density and transparency rather than guessing at uniform dimensions. Interesting. It's taking the programmatic approach. Now, the entirety of what just occurred is this basically trying to figure out how to use this non-standard sprite sheet. So I can see here that it didn't 100% read everything properly because it thinks part of it is just track sections, which isn't the case, but it was working to try to figure out exactly how it can, for lack of a better term, slice and dice this sprite sheet, and it did figure some things out. It was trying it programmatically, and now it feels that it has a competent enough understanding to actually ask us some follow-up questions, being that this is, of course, still in plan mode. So what kind of racing game would you like? I want to give this the best possible chance to succeed, but at the same time, I also want to have something cool. I mean, pseudo 3D racer. We might as well just go all out. We'll do pseudo 3D racer. Where should I create the game files? Just create racing game in home directory and do it there. Now this is still in plan mode, so at some point I will have to swap it. All right, and it's asking, shall I proceed with building this? So I'm going to swap it into build mode and say build it. Fool. No, I didn't. I'm just going to keep it scientific for this specific test. So this will inevitably take a little bit of time. Though I have to say, I think it actually happened quicker in terms of getting through the initial planning stage than I'd anticipated, so that is nice as well. All right, I've been over working on something else, and I was just notified that something had happened here based on the sound effects that apparently the OpenCode desktop beta seems to have. All right, I mean, I have no idea what to expect here. Let's just click Start Race. Let's click it once more. All right, let's check developer tools. I was really hoping for like an instant banger, but if we have some issues, Let's just give it the errors we received and see what it says. All right, so we can finally see that something did work. Now, unfortunately, and what I'm noticing immediately is it did not properly slice and dice the sprite sheet. Though, I mean, look at this. Had this actually, let's just see, this game is totally retro style, and had this actually gone ahead and been able to, one, be given a properly formatted sprite sheet that it would have then been able to use, or two, had a little better chance at like actually extracting these specific sprite locations, this would have been perfectly done. So what I can say is I've done this specific thing with GPT-5.4 Pro or 5.5 Pro, whatever's out. No, I'm kidding. And then it did it very well in actually extracting the sprites itself. So it was very good at doing that. But this did a very similar job. And I will say the actual track that this made is suspiciously good. Not suspiciously good, it's just really incredibly well done. So this is a very difficult task for this model to have been able to pull off, and really the only part where this failed is it was given a non-properly arranged sprite sheet to build off of, and it didn't 100% figure out how to slice them. Aside from that, this was a very impressive test and something I wanted to keep in, even though it did take quite a while, because this is something that we've not seen. Like that's not likely to be in its training data, and a lot of the difficulty there was utilizing the sprite sheet. So this was a very, very impressive test. Next up, from within OpenCode, I'm giving this the self-contained C++ skateboarding game task. I've just immediately started this from build mode instead of plan mode. It should do fine with that. And this is the more difficult variation of this test, where it needs to do the late 90s Cali boardwalk map variation of this. So it'll be interesting to see what it's able to pull off in terms of some C++ instead of just doing like HTML, JS, and CSS. So apparently this is compiled successfully. Now this has taken quite a while. Partially that was on me because I did not put this in a specific directory. So it initially tried to write somewhere that it did not have access to do that. So therefore it had to write again. And things are taking quite a bit of time. But we're seemingly getting close, and it's been a while, but I'm excited to see. All right, so it's 1,746 lines, which is a very, very large length for this specific test, and it's given me these specific commands to actually compile and run this. Notice it is in the temp folder. That's my mistake, but regardless, does not seem to matter too much. It did it, and I am a fool because this prompt did not specifically say it needs to be 3D. It doesn't matter. This exceeds expectations. We even have a mini map which shows like our tile location. Now, of course, there could perhaps be issues. So perhaps there are some like text legibility issues and things like that here, but it also looks like we're surfing now. Hey, that'd be an interesting test. The big issue is this is almost having these similar control issues that I noticed. He jumps off the board with the specific GTA clone, where it's just a little odd to move this thing around the screen in the orientation in which these keys take effect of the movement. Look at the storefronts is not what one would expect, but the fact that this thing just pounded this out with like no issues, this thing is an agentic coding beast. We even have pedestrians walking around. How would we do a trick? Like a Q or an E or a K? Okay, I saw something there, maybe indicative of a bail. Okay, I pressed J. Look at that. We even have a board flip. And it jumped off the ramp. I don't know if I can get on these rails, but this did a really eloquent job at doing this, I'm going to say. And it's almost like an isometric style. All right, well, I mean, this is very impressive for a model of this size. And this is something that was going to be, we're on the top of the stores, going to be more difficult than just like some web stuff. It took quite a while, and this has taken quite a while, but I want to really push this thing. So this is very, very good. And that took around 50 minutes total for the complete thing that we did there, which is, I mean, this is, the title will likely be clickbaited to some degree, but I do believe it is justifiable. So next up, and regrettably, this may be the last test that I run with this. I'm not going to be doing really like any multimodal coding tests or anything because time-wise, this is very, very slow, and that does frustrate me. However, I'm going to give it the 3D drum kit or 2.5D photorealistic drum kit simulation with the autoplay feature as well. So it needs to create the drum models as well as map the sounds to them properly, and this will be interesting to see what it pops out. All right, let's take a look at our drum simulator, which was around 21.5 tokens per second. That's good. I mean, they're not 100% properly laid out, and if I were to nitpick here, I would say, where are the cymbals? But regardless of that, I mean, is that some translucence over this drum skin? It is. Look at that. I mean, okay, you know, I've done this before where I don't actually verify the thing works before I start glazing it, so I should make sure I don't do that. Oh, I'm using this. This is like my daily driver Mac, so it's hooked up to my other sound system, which is pretty old and garbage, but still, I didn't expect it to be that loud, so. Oh, yo. No, I'm kidding. I wouldn't want to embarrass people with my skills. All right, now let's try our autoplay feature, of course, starting with rock. Can I play along? It even tried to draw a little, like a pedal for the bass drum. All right. Jazz. Funk. That's good. Then metal. Yep. Oh yeah. That makes me want to down tune the guitar real quick to drop D and just shred. Now as a final thing, I did say that would be the final thing, but I lied because there is one more final thing which is still working on. I just need to make sure my history there doesn't have anything I can't show, and it doesn't. So I have gone to ultimateplay.com, which is of course my website, and I have seemingly closed the tab that was going to showcase where I received this prompt from. So if we scroll up, this is the Bistro Brawlers game where it's a low poly bistro with a beat 'em up game aesthetic. So we'll allow it to finish this, and then this will be the last thing. So for our final test, let's take a look at our Bistro Brawlers restaurant result. Okay, a low poly kitchen nightmare, and when I'm here, the mouse disappears. This is very, very good. Waiter Pierre, bartender Bill. All right, I'm just trying to okay, so, oh. Wow, okay, this is it seems like the NPCs are also knocking each other out, which sometimes does happen. Now the big issue is the mouse disappears, so I need to there. Oh yeah, get knocked out. All right, Pierre, let's go. Oh no! I thought I was gonna slap Pierre, but unfortunately I did not. Okay, now the mouse is, yeah, there we go. We'll do this once more, and then Q is to block. Right click is heavy attack. Ah, I wasn't. Yep, that makes sense. All right, first and foremost, I'm going after Pierre, because quite frankly, I got a bone to pick. All right, well, you know what? This has taken many, many hours, and we did not get that many results comparatively to a normal video. So let's just quickly do some form of results overview. But to be honest with you, this video is shorter than normal, I would imagine. So really, this was impressive. The GTA clone contained within the actual desktop operating system was very good, and the fact that it even had like a simple walking animation was just awesome. This was a better result than I've seen from larger models, which is interesting because this is kind of a new addition to the prompt, so very cool to see. And then the browser OS itself was nice, of course. The subway station FPS was just incredibly well done, except for the fact that the frame rate was pretty abysmal. So this was too heavy to run, which, you know, it is what it is, and when I refreshed it a couple times and pressed enter, it just took a while to actually load us into this scene. But once we were in there, it was still pretty impressive, even if it froze up a bit. Everything was satisfied in terms of the denotion of what this prompt should be, and it's still freezing up. So I think probably a better use of time is to look at the initial subway station result, which did not have that issue. And this was really just like, I mean, the conduit and the ceiling, I don't know that I've ever seen that in any result here. We had the ability to move around with the mouse. The lights looked good. The colors looked good. The tiles. This was probably one of the more defined, like, do not cross, the track is down here, boundaries that I've seen. And we even had the subway at least partially visible in the tunnel, which is just, I mean, this was quite good. We had our drum kit. We had Bistro Brawlers, where waiter Pierre is going to get slapped on at the conclusion of this video. Then what else did we have? Oh, this was something I was doing with Minimax. That was not in this video, because when I got the system, I just wanted to try Minimax. Now, this is one that we don't actually see, because this was the first thing I ran with this model off camera just to test that, like, this quant was lucid. This was not run with the correct sampling parameters for a precise coding task, but still, I just made it make a simple open world 3D driving game, and we can see it was not bad at all. And this didn't even make the cut, because this was done prior to even recording as the first test, just as like a heartbeat to see if it was any good. So additionally, we also had the sprite test, which was more almost of an agentic test than really a kind of, do I have the sound on? Yep. All right, well, I don't know what happened, but we did see that in the result of this that we saw did use these sprites, which was cool to see. Even though it didn't properly slice and dice them, it was not a static defined like spreadsheet how it would expect it to be, and the way it functioned to just get past that was still pretty cool. This thing works well agentically. Then finally we had the skateboard game, which I'm not going to look over again because I've forgotten where it lives. So that's going to conclude this video. Qwen3.6 27B, this was being run in a Q8 in the MLX community 8-bit quantization, so Q8 8-bit, on a M3 Ultra 256 gig Mac Studio with the context length completely maxed out. All of these sampling parameters were set to the ones suggested from the Hugging Face README for precise coding, and the preserve thinking feature was enabled, and max context length if I didn't say that. So this model punches significantly above its weight class, and this really is like the Opus at home title-worthy model that is, I mean, the feedback for this one is going to be very impressive. I'm excited to see what folks actually end up building with this, because it has the chops. So that's going to conclude today's video. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave them in the comments, and thanks for watching.